he threw some bad intentions in there. I mean, those overhands, I mean, he literally came out to not just get the win, but to take Cowboy's head off. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, a tough night for Cowboy Cerrone last night. Yeah. I had mixed emotions because obviously Alex Morono is a Houston fighter. Gracie Baja as well. Gracie Baja, Texas lineage. So you have to cheer for that. But at the same time, I'm such a big Cowboy fan, and I hate to see him lose 5 in a row like this.
Oh, man, it's brutal. And Cowboy, you know, I realized just how much I missed him when I heard the Kid Rock hit the stereo. And, And I was like, man, he's been gone for too long. We've been so accustomed to having Cowboy
the 2-week turnarounds and things like that.
Yeah, doing Khamzat Chimaev while Khamzat Chimaev was a teenager. You know, he's been doing it forever. So we're used to it, and like when you get used to something that's constantly in your face, you take it for granted. But then when Cowboy's gone for 4, 5, 6 months, however long it's been, you're like, man, I start to miss this guy. Yeah. And he came out looking tough, looking like a grizzled old vet. But Alex Morono, he came in on a mission. He looked like an assassin that was out there to go, handle a job and get over on literally one of probably his idols and everybody else in MMA's idols. And it was a great fight, but props to Alex Morono for seizing a moment. And obviously this has got to be the biggest win in his career. This is
no doubt.
A win over Cowboy is a big win for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't matter whether he's a 38-year-old Cowboy or what. Yeah. Alex Morono seized the moment, not even during the fight and before the fight, but even before he got the fight, because he let Hunter Campbell and Sean Shelby and the guys know, hey, look, and I always appreciate a guy that looks at the landscape of MMA and what's going on. Yep. He saw that Diego Sanchez versus Cowboy Cerrone is on this card. That's a fight that's in his weight class. These are 2 older guys. Some weird things have been going on with Diego for quite some time now. And so he said, you know what? I think there might be a chance of a pullout here, or somebody missing weight, or somebody having an injury, or some weird thing like what happened with Diego and the medical information. And so he told those guys, hey, put my name in the hat. If one of these guys pulls out, I want the fight. Yeah. And he was ready and he was prepared. So I got to give him props for seizing the moment like that, for getting the fight in the first place, and then actually seizing the moment in the cage. He threw some bad intentions in there. I mean, those overhands. I mean, he literally came out to not just get the win, but to take Cowboy's head off. So props to Alex for that.
Yeah, and he's a legit black belt, and everybody kind of knows him for his really good jiu-jitsu and grappling skills. But I think people are going to start to realize that he mixes it up really, really well, and is going to be a problem for a lot of people at 170 because he's so good on the ground. And now we realize he's got some serious power in his hands and in his striking, and he's down to knock you out in the first round if he has to. And I just really, I was blown away by how he was able to do exactly what he said he was planning on doing. You know, when you have Cowboy Cerrone, you have so much information on him and hours worth of fighting that you can watch and dissect. And what he realized is the same thing Conor McGregor realized. Cowboy's a little bit of a slow starter. So what do you do with a slow starter? Come out guns a-blazing. Yeah. If you can, give him a tough enough storm to where he can't handle it, then maybe you can get him out of there early and have an easy night in the office. But Cowboy's also very tough to take out. So if you do that, it's high risk, high reward. If you do that and he's not gone, then you've got to deal with a technical, experienced vet like Cowboy who's probably going to, kick your head off in the 3rd round or 4th round or something like that. So it was a risky move, but it paid off for him, and he looked really good and precise with all of the strikes he was choosing to throw at Cowboy. All in all, I was very, very impressed with Morono.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Cowboy's problem has been of late with being such a slow starter. As you said, he got away with it in the earlier parts of his career when he hadn't taken a whole lot of knockouts. He was much younger, but he's approaching 40 now. He's been knocked out quite a few times. And one thing we know about your chin, as we age and as we get knocked out multiple times, your chin starts to deteriorate. So back in the early days of his career, he could afford to be that stand and trade sort of fighter, take 2 to give 1 good one sort of style that we've come to love Cowboy for. But now he just simply can't. He can't take the shots like he could before. So he's got to, if he's going to come back, and he said he's going to come back. He said, look, I am not done. I'm not going out like that. I'm going out on a win. I am personally a little bit concerned that Cowboy might be chasing a win that's not going to happen because he's in the UFC, and there really are no easy fights in the UFC. There's easier fights than others, but I just hope that Cowboy can get that proper send-off because I feel like it's in his heart. He doesn't believe he's done yet. He even said in the post-fight press conference, how I feel and how I perform are obviously two different things. And I know I'm reaching the end of my career, but it's not here yet. And I'll let you guys know it happens beforehand. I just hope we don't get like a BJ Penn situation where he sticks around just a bit too long.
Yeah, and the thing about Cowboy Cerrone is I had him winning the fight with Diego Sanchez if that would have taken place.
Me too.
And I think that was a good matchup for Cowboy. And, Diego's literally the most OG of OGs, right? The first Ultimate Fighter, and it doesn't get more old school than Cowboy Cerrone versus Diego Sanchez. Would have loved to see that fight, but when something like a fallout or the plans escape you, and Diego Sanchez is now off the card, and they call up somebody to try to salvage this, basically the people's main event of that card. The Sandhagen versus Dillashaw, that getting pulled off the card really did kind of take some of the wind out of that card. But Cowboy Cerrone was there to save the day. I think a lot of people were there to watch him, and would have loved to see him compete with Diego. But Alex Morono knows exactly what he can do with a win over a guy like Cowboy Cerrone. And I always say it, and I believe you feel the same way. A lot of people feel the same way. The person that takes a fight on on short notice it's such a higher advantage than the guy who just got his entire plans for a fight derailed a week ago. If it's 1 week until the fight, and then all the guy you're training for, all that gets thrown out the window, and now they throw you somebody new, and there's no pressure on this new guy. He's coming in from out of town. He's been training. Obviously, Alex Morono's a professional, so he's in the gym year round. And he's going to try to seize his moment and get over the biggest win of his career over a legend like Cowboy. It takes all the pressure off of Morono and it goes right on to Cowboy. And I'm sure it can be pretty frustrating when stuff like that happens. People like Cowboy don't let stuff like that show. They've hold a pretty good poker face. But that kind of stuff can really throw you off your game when you're, basically planning for a Diego Sanchez fight, and then you get thrown a hungry beast like Morono.
It's a totally different fight, and I think a perfect recent example of what you just mentioned there is Jorge Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman. Mm-hmm. Conventional wisdom was that Masvidal, with a proper training camp and not on 6 days' notice and not getting rushed to Abu Dhabi and having a really tough weight cut, would be able to perform better.
Right.
But it is that sort of unspoken like freedom in the octagon. Hey, I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm saving the day. I can just kind of flow in here and do what I want to do. And then at the same time, you heard Trevor Whitman say, we didn't know what Masvidal was going to bring to this fight or what he was going to try. So we took a conservative approach and say, how do we guarantee ourselves a win in this fight? And so that's what, and a lot of people thought that when the second installment came around, that it was going to be much harder for Usman, where in reality, it was much easier. He was able to prepare. He knew exactly who he was fighting. He knew how to game plan. He knew what shots he would be looking for.
Felt the power.
He felt the power. Exactly. And so I think that sometimes it can be just the opposite of conventional wisdom. Right. And the guy coming in on short notice like Morono last night has a clear-cut advantage.
Yeah. And Jorge Masvidal, we'll get off that fight right after this, but Jorge Masvidal, there's no pressure on a guy like that. He's like 6 days notice. All I got to do is cut some weight, and I'm fighting off credit right now. This is extra credit. This is the icing on top of the cake. I'm just gonna jump in. I'm the hero of this card, whether I win or lose.
Exactly.
And it's very interesting because once he goes, all right, well, I lost that one, but the reason is because I had 6 days to train for it. Give me a full camp and I'll beat this guy. Then he took all that pressure that wasn't on him and just threw it onto himself.
Yeah.
And, we saw how that one played out. And I think when you have somebody like Cowboy Cerrone, and I don't want to see Cowboy retire, and I do think he could go off on a win. And I think there's fights that still favor Cowboy at 170 and at 155 that are compelling matchups that are fights we would like to see. We might not know. We might not be able to give you an opponent right off the bat. But if you tell me he's going to fight one of the, X, Y, or Z, I'm down to see it. And I think he could probably still win some really good matchups. But, he's 38 years old. And even though we see some fighters move into their 40s and early 40s and sometimes mid 40s and still compete, Cowboy has more fights than anybody.
Yeah, and like 15 or 16 losses and some pretty bad knockouts as well.
Yeah, so when you see that, 38 is his current age, but his MMA age is, 96.
Yeah.
He's so old in there. So I love Cowboy. I never want to see top 3 characters of all time in the UFC, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When that music hits, the cowboy hat, he just looks tough. He looks like an MMA fighter. He's a great person for the sport. And I will be sad when the day comes that we don't get to see Cowboy Cerrone fight anymore. But I just don't think that day has come just yet.
Yeah, I hope it comes soon, but I don't think it's come just yet. I think what you just said, I agree 100%. He's one of the top 3 personalities the sport's ever seen. Yeah. I mean, the guy says yes to any fight. If you asked him to fight Brock Lesnar, he would show up on his motorcycle, get off, put his mouthpiece in, and fight Brock Lesnar. He's just that guy. Yeah. That's a throwback to an era that's very quickly dying in the UFC and in MMA in general. But he's just as tough as it gets, and for that reason, I just think Cowboy should go out in front of fans.
Yeah.
I think Cowboy Cerrone, there needs to be 20,000 screaming people in the audience. Kid Rock hits the loudspeakers.
Yeah. Maybe walks out with him.
Kid Rock, where are you, by the way? Can you come and do an official walkout with Cowboys? He has rocked that walkout song his entire career, and a lot of people switch it up. Some people have a classic signature song, Cowboy by Kid Rock. It doesn't get any better than that.
No.
I would love to see it. I cannot name you an opponent off the top of my head right now, but there is an opponent out there that I think he would beat. And so I would love to see Cowboy go out that way. On the flip side, I think Alex Morono earned himself a top 10 opponent after that performance. I think he should get a good opponent next, and let's see if he can really contend with the top 10, top 5 in the division.
Yeah, and it's crazy, but we're always talking about Khamzat Chimaev because he's such a hot prospect at 170. I would love to see Morono in there with Khamzat. We know how good he is with his jiu-jitsu, and I understand that Khamzat's going to kind of jump. He's currently jumping the line a little bit, going to wind up with a top 5 or top 7, top 8. But Morono would be a great fight. I feel like that would be a very fun fight for us to watch, and I'm always down, and I would have to be cheering on and rooting for the H-Town man right there in that situation. Very tough fight, very fun fight. Would probably be fight of the night whatever card it winds up on. But all in all, I was super blown away by his performance. He did exactly what he needed to do. He got the legend out of there and made pretty easy work of him. You're always gutted when you see somebody like Cowboy Cerrone lose, but it's at this point in Cowboy's career, it's not the wins and the losses that matter to me. It's the performance and it's the entertainment. He's still so entertaining. He puts on such a good performance. And the fight week build up, the little bit of content that they throw out before and after the fight is something that I always enjoy watching when Cowboy's involved.
No, most definitely.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks so much for watching our video. Let us know in the comments, do you think it's time for Cowboy to hang it up, or do you think he's got one more win left in him? And what should be next for Alex Morono? We always enjoy engaging with you guys in the comments, so drop us a line. As always, if you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and check us out on audio where you listen to those podcasts. Have a wonderful day, guys.
Peace.